Navigating decision makers, AI insights. The decision maker problem has changed. If it feels like every simple B2B opportunity now needs a mini steering committee to get approved, you're not imagining it. Today's deals routinely span finance, IT, security, operations, legal, procurement, and executive stakeholders, each with their own success metrics and veto power. Benchmarks show buying groups average around 11 decision makers and take about 11.3 months to reach a decision, which means single-threaded selling is basically betting the deal on luck. At the same time, the teams hitting quota aren't necessarily working harder, they're working smarter with AI. Gartner found sellers who effectively partner with AI are 3.7 times more likely to meet quota, largely because they spend less time on manual research and more time on high-quality conversations. In practice, AI isn't replacing discovery, it's removing the busy work that makes discovery shallow. In this guide, we'll break down how to use AI insights to map buying committees, identify who actually matters, and tailor outreach by persona without turning your team into a template factory. We'll also cover how to spot stakeholder conflict early and coach your champion toward consensus, because in complex deals, momentum is fragile. The goal is straightforward. Build a repeatable system for navigating decision makers, not a one-off prompt that works once. Why buying committees stall, even when interest is real. The most dangerous competitor in B2B isn't another vendor, it's no decision. As buying committees expand from 6 to 10 plus stakeholders, and sometimes more, every additional reviewer introduces new criteria, new fears, and new ways to delay. That's why chasing one decision maker is outdated. Even your best champion can't sign for IT, security, finance, and procurement. The bigger issue is internal misalignment. Gartner reports 74% of B2B buyer teams demonstrate unhealthy conflict during the decision process, which shows up as contradictory requirements, last-minute objections, or stakeholders who quietly opt out. When conflict is invisible, sellers default to pushing harder on demos and follow-ups, exactly the wrong move when the real problem is consensus. For SDRs and AEs, this changes the job description. You're not just generating interest, you're orchestrating alignment. That's why modern outbound needs multi-threading across finance, IT security, and line of business leaders from the start, whether you run it in-house or through a sales outsourcing partner. Done well, your cold email agency motion and your B2B cold calling services motion reinforce each other, building credibility with the entire committee instead of only the loudest voice. AI as buying committee radar, not a replacement for discovery. The most practical way to think about AI is as your buying committee radar. It suggests who should be involved, what they likely care about, and where your deal is exposed. Instead of starting from a blank page, AI can help you draft an org map, cluster stakeholders by function, and infer likely buying roles like economic buyer, technical evaluator, end user, or blocker. Your team still validates it in discovery, but you stop wasting cycles guessing. This matters because the unscalable part of multi-threading isn't sending more messages, it's doing the research behind those messages. McKinsey estimates generative AI could unlock $0.8 to $1.2 trillion in additional productivity across sales and marketing, and a big chunk of that upside comes from automating repetitive intelligence work. When AI handles enrichment, categorization, and first-pass positioning, reps get back the time required to run real conversations. AI also helps distinguish the real decision-maker from the most active contact. By combining titles, reporting relationships, historical opportunity patterns, and engagement signals, opens, forwards, meeting attendance, AI can flag who tends to hold the pen and who is primarily an influencer. The win isn't perfect prediction. It's building better hypotheses so your first calls and emails ask smarter questions and pull the right people into the process earlier. How to operationalize AI for decision-maker mapping. Start with a focused, account-based workflow. Map your top accounts before you write a single sequence. In our work at SalesHive, we treat stakeholder mapping as a prerequisite, not a nice-to-have. Because a buying group of 11 people can't be covered with one persona and one champion. The practical move is to tag contacts in your CRM by function and buying role, so multi-threading becomes a system, not a heroic effort. Next, build role-based messaging libraries and let AI personalize the last mile. Your team should write the core value props, proof points, and objection responses by persona: finance, IT security, ops, and executive. Then use AI to adapt those blocks into emails, call openers, and LinkedIn touches for each stakeholder's context. This is where AI earns its keep. It scales relevance without turning reps into content machines. Finally, instrument multi-threading triggers so it happens automatically when engagement appears. When AI sees repeat opens, forwards, or strong replies from a champion, it should recommend 3 to 5 adjacent stakeholders. For example, CFO plus security plus ops, and generate tailored intros your champion can forward internally. That's how you turn interest into committee momentum. Whether you're running an in-house SDR pod or an outsourced sales team through an SDR agency or outbound sales agency. AI shouldn't do the selling for you. It should make sure you're selling to the right people with the right message at the right moment. Role-specific outreach that actually reaches decision makers. If you want more stakeholders to engage, you can't treat them like the same decision maker. A CFO needs ROI, risk, and payback language. IT and security need architecture clarity and implementation risk reduced. Operations needs workflow impact and adoption. Procurement needs clean terms and predictability. AI is most effective when it adapts a persona-correct message into stakeholder-specific phrasing, not when it blasts generic copy across the account. Email benchmarks show why this matters. Average B2B sales email open rates sit around 21.3%, while personalized emails can hit 35% plus, about 65% higher, creating more chances for the message to reach the people who actually influence the deal. This is exactly where a cold email agency approach can shine, because consistent personalization at scale is hard to sustain manually. The same principle applies to calls. Cold calling services work best when the talk track matches the stakeholder's world. AI can generate persona-specific call openers, objection handling, and discovery prompts, while transcription and summaries ensure your reps stay present instead of taking frantic notes. Whether you hire SDRs internally or work with a B2B sales agency, the goal is the same. Make every touch feel like it was built for that role, not for a generic lead. Common mistakes that break multi-threaded deals. The first failure mode is relying on a single champion. In a world of 6 to 10 plus stakeholders, one internal advocate can't carry finance, IT, and procurement, and they can disappear overnight due to reorgs, job changes, or shifting priorities. AI helps here by continuously surfacing missing roles and prompting parallel outreach so the deal isn't fragile. The second mistake is letting AI spray generic messaging across the account. When every email looks like it was AI generated, you train buyers to ignore you, and you damage your brand with irrelevant outreach. The fix is to constrain AI with persona libraries, ICP rules, and clear do not send guardrails, so each stakeholder gets a message aligned to their incentives and concerns. The third mistake is treating AI scores as gospel while feeding the system messy data. Scores should be a hypothesis, validated by discovery questions and light research. And your CRM must have clean titles, departments, and activity history so stakeholder maps don't drift into fiction. If you're using sales outsourcing or a sales development agency, data hygiene becomes even more important because multiple hands touch the same records and workflows. Measurement and optimization. Proving AI is working. To measure whether AI is improving decision-maker navigation, track committee engagement, not just lead volume. Watch how many contacts are active per opportunity, how quickly you add the second and third stakeholders, and whether meetings are distributed across key personas: finance, IT security, ops, and exec. If AI is working, you'll see earlier involvement from hard-to-reach roles and fewer late-stage surprises. Cold outreach benchmarks also show what better looks like. Typical cold email reply rates hover around 1 to 5%, while top performers with stronger targeting and personalization can achieve 15% plus, a gap AI can help close when it's used to tailor messaging by role and company context. That's one reason modern cold calling companies and telemarketing teams increasingly pair call activity with AI-driven research and sequencing. A practical rollout is to pilot one use case, like CFO engagement or org mapping in Tier 1 accounts, and measure ROI inside 90 days. Nearly 2/3, about 65%, of B2B revenue teams in the UK and EU report achieving AI ROI within their first year, and many see payback sooner when the scope is focused and the metrics are clear. The point isn't to AIify everything. It's to build proof, then expand. What to do next? Build an AI-assisted, human-led motion. The next step is to make this operational. Map stakeholders in your priority accounts, define buying roles in your CRM, and standardize persona frameworks so AI has clean inputs. Turn on AI transcription and meeting summaries so reps can read the room. Then use structured notes to refine stakeholder maps over time. This is how you build a searchable memory of who drives decisions and what they need to see to say yes. From there, design playbooks around buyer conflict, not just lead scores. If 74% of buyer teams experience unhealthy conflict, your sales process should expect misalignment and proactively address it with role-specific enablement, multi-stakeholder workshops, and clear mutual action plans. AI can flag conflicting priorities, security versus speed, cost versus capability, so your team responds with consensus building, not more follow-ups. Whether you run in-house or partner with SalesHive as a B2B sales agency, the principle stays consistent. Keep AI behind the scenes doing research, drafting, and recommendations, while your team owns discovery, trust, and negotiation. When you combine an AI-assisted system with strong human selling, navigating decision makers stops being a bottleneck and becomes a repeatable advantage. In a market where buying groups average 11 people, that advantage compounds fast.